Hello from the other side. Welcome to Total Disclosure. My name is Ty, and I am the host and creator of the show. I want to start off by saying thank you to every single person listening and watching on your chosen platform. Remember to go above and beyond by following and rating the show. It's free, and it tremendously helps us with getting to new audiences and helping with our algorithm. You can also help support the show by joining our membership on either Anchor or YouTube. For as low as the price of a cup of joe every month, you could be listening to ad-free content, gaining early access, and getting a yearly gift. Making the show is a passion, however, it isn't cheap. And this is how we keep the show free for you, the listener. Thank you in advance. Now let's get the party started. Hello from the other side. Welcome to Total Disclosure.
Making a blanket statement to cover the entire UFO phenomenon over the past 20 years.
Welcome back to Total Disclosure, guys. My name's Ty. As you heard in the little clip that I can't seem to figure out how to not have it start again like an idiot. I'm here. I'm the creator of the show. And on Thursday nights, we do a YouTube live. Going forward, that's going to be the schedule. Like I said last week, Thursday nights on YouTube. Sunday will be the podcast that's exclusively on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I want to say thank you to everyone who's out in the YouTube sphere and who's going to be engaging with us today. We'll be opening the phone lines at the second half of the show. I will definitely let you know when we open them and we start taking calls in. I see a couple of people already asking about it. I know we'll have a couple calls tonight, so it's going to be fun. And we have a lot to get through. So guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe. As always, if you want to go above and beyond, our Cash App is in the description. If you want to donate directly to the show without any fees being taken out by YouTube, or you can send a super chat, super sticker, and ask a question that way, or throw up a topic, show your love, do whatever. With that being said, let's bring in tonight. Where's my mouse? It's on that screen. Yeah, it happens all the time. With that being said, let's bring in the panel, Tom and Love. What's going on, boys, gentlemen? How are we doing?
Good evening.
Yeah, what's up, man?
We were gonna have Vinny from Disclosure Team on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Well, we were going to until he had issues with his internet. Yeah, he actually canceled his show last night, and it still wasn't fixed today. So Vinny from Disclosure Team is now scheduled for the 14th at 9 p.m. Their time. I think that's like 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern, but I'll figure that out later. Okay. Tonight, guys, we have so much to talk about, so little time. Did everybody watch the Weaponized podcast?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Today at work.
And I liked how, now first off, I want to say this. The 2-hour podcast, I was super happy about, because far too often I find myself wanting to hear more George Knapp.
Mm-hmm, me too.
And this time we got like a really good long 2-hour podcast. I loved it. Even though like it was kind of a lot of Jeremy slapping himself on the back per usual, I still have respect for him. But what is being talked about the most is obviously the drop of the Baghdad UFO. Now, this is separate from the Mosul orb, which they dropped on episode 1 of Weaponized. But both are military sightings in combat zones. So we have some photos here. It's a succession of four pictures that basically show a craft. I mean, if I play it, let's start from the beginning. If I play it quick enough, you can see the thing move through the frame, right? Now, I want you guys to look closely, right? Do you kind of, I wish you could see where I was pointing. You know what? Let's try something out. I'm going to move you guys over here.
On-air experimentation. I like it.
Oh, no, you can't see still. So, if you look behind the craft, right behind the craft.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe this will make it bigger.
I noticed it the first time I saw the images without having them set up as like a GIF. Like I saw it immediately.
So behind the craft, it looks like, and I've seen this before in other UFO video pictures and videos, and it basically looks like it's skipping through time or a dimension, or a combination of both. But it looks like the craft is almost replicating.
Weird.
You know what I mean? So look behind the craft in this photo. You can see a trail of what looked like the craft. Now, is that just an effect from the camera? I don't know. I'm not an expert necessarily when it comes to military photography, especially with these advanced weapon systems. However, like I said, it's not the first time I've seen it. Where it looked like there was almost a trail being left. Now, doesn't it look like it's like, we often wonder about the warp theory, right? About how these craft may potentially have an ability to kind of create a bubble around their own craft and move through, like if you put your hand, if you had a bowling ball on a bed and used your hand by pressing in front of it, it rolls through. Is that what's happening here? Are we catching that on photograph? Guys, what is your take on the Baghdad UFO photos?
Well, I'll tell you what I was able to kind of find out about this image is that there was a gentleman that responded to my post on Twitter when I first shared these images yesterday or the day before, I believe, whatever day that it dropped. And he said that what interested him the most is that he happened to have some knowledge of military photography, and he said that this is white hot imaging mode, so the object itself is colder than the environment.
Yes.
And he said that like if this was a missile, that actually would not be the case. So at first I wasn't really that impressed. Like when I just was looking at the stills, I was like, dude, that could be a missile. But he said that this is white hot imaging mode, and I'm like, oh.
And we actually see that in the the infamous Pentagon video, right? This one. Now it's the same. It's in that same imaging mode where it shows white and the black craft is colder than the atmosphere around it. Now, many people ask, well, why does that matter? Well, any conventional propulsion system is blasting out fucking red hot fumes, and it would obviously be much warmer than the environment around it, right? We're not talking a couple degrees difference. We're talking drastic differences. So these craft are colder than the atmosphere around it, which to us makes no sense, because how could a craft not be using jet propulsion in order to fly? So these are the things that really make these make this stand out. We see that kind of now. If I were to guess, what would you say that's lenticular, or is that tic tac shaped?
To me, I look at it. I feel it's cylinder.
Yeah, I see it as a cylinder as well.
Or like thin cigar, and it's hard to tell because we don't know how far away this is. We don't know how big it is. It's difficult to know the actual shape.
Well, you can use some of the data that's on the sides to calculate.
Yeah. If I wanted to go through that, I could try to like ascertain some of it, but my guess is that this may be like cigar shaped, but it could be tic tac. But the reason I'm not going tic tac is because the way that object was described, I feel like the edges would have to be much more rounded for me to
Yeah.
want to go that route.
Uh,
Hey, that UFO
evening.
chick. Howdy.
So I
Welcome,
want to
welcome,
ask the
welcome.
question that
That's my boo.
essentially like okay, when you look at this footage, can't you see the clouds behind of what it's coming out of the cylinder object that's flying?
Hold on, let me take that down. I'm sorry. So you're talking about what's behind it?
Yeah, if you see, yeah, that's basically like if you know if you were to describe contrails or chemtrails, for instance, at least that's what it looks like.
That's not a bad assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I thought at first when
That
I
yeah,
first looked at it.
that is not a bad assessment. I just don't.
But
I
right
don't.
there, I'm actually seeing it now. Ty, I think I'm getting what you're. I don't mean to interrupt you, but there's breaks in it. They're like these are
That's what
like
I'm saying.
after images. No, I see
That's
it
what I'm
now,
saying.
man.
Yeah,
I wish your
I'm
mouse
saying.
cursor. Can you get your mouse cursor up on there? Is that possible?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't let me do that.
Well, all right, so here, let me try to describe this. If you guys look to the left of the initial object, it looks like an after image. That's not a trail. Those are outlines.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
It
not
looks like the exact
not a
craft.
trail.
It looks like the actual. It looks
It's
like
the
the
same
craft
length.
moving in and out of like because obviously we all wonder how the fuck these things do what they do, and
Right.
many people who have observed
Oh,
UFOs
that's weird.
see them kind of flicker in and out of space time. Could that be what we're seeing here? Because it looks, I mean, you could trace those things, and they outline the you could put the craft up on them, and it's an identical signature.
Oh
And
yeah.
I mean, these things. Look, here's another clearer shot.
Wow.
Look right behind it, and right behind
Yeah.
it. You see what I'm talking about?
Oh, dude,
Yeah, I
my
definitely see
opinion
that.
of this image has just changed completely. Like, honestly.
Yeah. Now planes don't do that, right?
No.
Now, first off,
Mm-mm.
I think we've all seen airplanes in the sky.
Mhm.
They
I live
don't
next to
look.
a military base.
They don't look like that.
No.
From any angle.
Well, I will
they
say
don't look like
a
that.
white passenger plane at but it's far. Like it'll look like that when your eyes first kind of like land on it, but then you see the protrusion of like the wing. And like there's your brain will trick you for just a moment, but it will not stay like that. And it's not just like one flat color. And this is featureless, whereas like the jetliners have features. I can't believe now, like, because I'm really looking at it blown up. It looks like somebody went in and like Photoshop. Not saying that's what actually happened, and it's just like the outline of the object pasted behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an after image. That's not because at first I'm like, dude, this looks like a missile. It just looks like there's a vapor trail behind it. Then I find out it's white hot imaging mode. So that means the object is cold, or at least colder than the surrounding environment. Now, to your credit, like you pointed this out, these like after images. Now I really don't know what I'm looking at. Now that makes this a hell of a lot more interesting. I got to be honest. This is way more interesting than I initially gave it credit for.
Yeah, and so that was one of the first things I noticed. I was like, holy shit. And I'm going to try to find it. By the way, this is what common aircraft look like on FLIR video, right? I'm going to bring it up right here.
Right.
So, so they just don't, look at what it's emitting. Look, you see what it's emitting? Like
Yes.
It's a bright, white, hot fucking.
That's white hot mode.
That's, this is the flame is just absolutely like apparent. You could not mistake that. And
which means
what
if it's
we're
black,
seeing,
it's freezing cold, or at least very cold, or near it.
And this is another one. Here we are.
Yeah,
you see this one?
That's a great example. You
can see the outline of the plane, like it's unmistakable. And what we're seeing with the Baghdad UFO and the Tic Tac are not airplanes. Like it's simply naive to say that. At least in my opinion, and from the opinion of a lot of people who are very familiar with how FLIR works, the guys who had eyewitness accounts of it. So yes, I think this picture is genuine. I think the succession of pictures is it's astounding. It's remarkable in my
Yes.
opinion.
I now agree.
Yeah, and I give credit to where credit is due. I might not necessarily love Jeremy Corbell, but he is constantly delivering some of the most absolutely overwhelmingly um um positive evidence that has been either accepted by the White House and Pentagon, or it is just from a source that you just can't deny, or you have to at least take serious. So, Corbell, the work he's done, the work Corbell and Knapp are doing, and continue to do with the Weaponized podcast and everything surrounding it. Much credit to them, and I hope one day we're at a level where we're able to talk to them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, and also major shout out to George Knapp for just like being in the game for so long. Like, honestly, it's
Yeah.
crazy that he's still doing this.
Yeah, and I'm sure he has enough in the bank to retire, but
Yeah, man.
but that's the thing about this subject, guys, is people don't want to leave it because they want to get involved in it and stay involved in it through their whole life. What other field can you say that about?
Maybe like one of the sciences, because it's always changing, but that's what makes this so alluring, is that it's mysterious and ever changing, just like biology and chemistry, and physics. But this ties into those. So it's, they're related. They're like distant cousins.
I will never stop chasing the answers until we get them. And even when we get them, I'm going to still chase.
It's going to make more questions.
Yeah, I'll have many more questions. But Love and Tom, around the clock, Love start. Do you think now that all of this circles back, right? Even given the coolness of these photos, right? Does this actually do anything for the U.S.? I mean, for the U.S. for the disclosure process toward moving forward, or are pictures just old news at this point?
No, I think that this is a pretty much a lot of progress, only because it's like the only reason I say that is because sometimes I do be seeing actual things just appear, and like sometimes I'm not sure if anyone ever notices, but I'm only 70% sure about this. I'm not 100% sure, but I've seen things in the sky just appearing out of nowhere, and I'm not talking about orbs that I usually see. But I'm talking about like planes that look, at least I think they're planes with no sound, and sometimes they just appear out of nowhere. And it kind of looks like it resembles the object that it kind of looks on that footage that we just saw.
Yeah, I agree. Tom, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are kind of similar to Love's. Also, I also want to say that Love, just directly to you, the other day I reviewed some of the footage that you sent me yourself, and so I just want everybody in the chat to know, like, I'm very critical when it comes to footage. Like, it's got to be pretty decent for me to be like, oh, that's weird, because I've just seen so much that I feel like I have a good eye for CGI. Love knows what he's saying, because the footage that he sent me, that he took himself and with a friend, like, it was good. There was some very anomalous stuff that he picked up. So I believe that, based on what I'm now seeing in this image that I didn't initially see before, because I was looking at it on a cell phone, I didn't have it blown up on my computer screen. It broke while I was at work. This does push the UFO community and the school of thought related to evidence forward in a positive direction, because now we've been presented with something that is undeniably strange. It's in white hot mode, and just like Adam just said in the chat, Ty, you made this gentleman in the chat think about this image in a completely different light, and it looks like it's skipping through the fabric of space. That is so strange. It's almost like it was going so fast that that's what the camera was picking up. It's like
Right. Right.
You
I
know,
what you
like in
mean.
quantum physics, there's it's called quantum superpositioning, where like a particle can technically be in two places at once in time space, which is really
Yeah.
hard to wrap your head around. That maybe that's what it was doing, which is, I mean, it's mind boggling. Don't get, I don't claim to understand quantum physics, because if you do, they say that if you claim to understand quantum physics, you already don't understand quantum physics. Like
Right.
this, they could have captured like quantum superpositioning as a form of movement on FLIR. Like,
Yeah. Well, and
my
that,
head is
again,
spinning.
I reiterate this. I've seen this in other YouTube videos, or not YouTube videos, but you know what I mean. Other pictures and photos of UFOs like that seem to fly by, and they leave this like almost spitting image of itself multiple times, as it's like sequential, and it's remarkable.
I have to agree. I absolutely have to agree. So a UFO chick just said in the chat, did we see George's comment on Greenwald's post and something about the Lou and Sean situation? There was a UFO shot that was taken on Lou's property.
So we're gonna
I
get
didn't
into
actually see that. Okay, so all right, cool, perfect. Because that's actually news to me, because I had a
Yeah,
crazy day today and was barely on my phone.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that just momentarily, but I definitely wanted to address the fact that, um, uh, that this picture, it wasn't just, some normal picture of a UFO that Corbell dropped. It has some significance because of, at least to my eye, its similarities between things I've seen before. And I just wanted to point it out for everybody that, like, not only was I going to bring up the point about it being colder than the surrounding atmosphere by being, I mean, this thing's jet black in a sea of white, right? That alone should send up a red flag. Like, wait a second, if it's flying, it is clearly moving. What is it? And then we look, and you see the kind of signature there, skipping through. So to me, this is a very, very proof positive, in favor of that UFOs do exist, right?
Yeah,
this
it's weird.
only adds to it. Now, speaking of a sighting, Sean Cahill. Now, people might remember him from that episode of Unidentified. He went with Lou Elizondo to Catalina Island or Guadalupe Island, or both of them. I don't remember. But he brings him along because he was Cahill was in the Navy, and he was part of the Nimitz encounter. So he he had the credentials to be involved, and has struck a really good friendship with Lou in recent years. Now, Cahill dropped some footage of a UFO sighting, and basically you see this thing in the mountains, this white thing, hovering in the mountains, and then the outline of the mountain range. People on Reddit, of course it was Reddit, figured out that that mountain range is the same mountain range that Lou's property is on. So go figure, right? And they matched it up, which I have the pictures, or I had the picture of. So see this?
Yeah.
All right, see the mountain range in the back?
Yeah.
All right, now keep that in mind. I have to go find the video on Kate.
Sawan, I don't know if I'm saying his name right in the chat. I apologize if I'm butchering it. Sawan P says, imagine having this as news and not Gillibrand. But I said that we would get, we're just trying to cover as much as possible, of course.
Yeah, Gillibrand. So the way I do it, typically how I do my topic list is the things that are the most important are the last things to be talked about. You kind of want to get the fluff out of the way, introduce the show, get people engaging, and then it's like the finale topic. Because in my opinion, I want to watch that whole Gillibrand clip, because she goes in on. I mean, that lady's fantastic, man.
Yeah, she's really out there killing it.
She is out there killing it. Why can't I find this footage? maybe you guys can talk amongst yourself for a second.
Well,
So,
no, go ahead.
I mean, do you think that it's going to take? I mean, yeah, Senator Gillibrand. We have Marco Rubio, Tim Burchett. There's a couple more, like Kennedy.
Yeah.
But do you think that this topic is, it's becoming ever popular, right, amongst the general people? Now, do you think that's going to push for, representatives basically answering the call from their constituents saying, like, we want more transparency in this, and that could usher in a wave of basically forced disclosure?
It's happening already. I mean, you see the involvement with senators and other officials that, the likes of which we've never seen before, from Rubio to Gillibrand, all of them. Like, name one time that this has really happened in like the last 20 years. There may have been, some here and there, Harry Reid being one of them. God rest his soul, obviously. He's no longer with us. But
I know.
it can only do good, because as the battle cry grows, I have written my local constituents. I have contacted local government in my area, and they were quick to respond to me and said, we are taking this matter seriously. Like, and I've reached out. I'm not one to like send letters and things to government. Like, I'm just not that guy. I've only done it a few times for things that really mattered to me, and I got to say, this was the fastest response that I received. I was very impressed, honestly, with the way that the representatives in my state, being New Jersey, handled it, and it didn't seem like an automatic message either. So that tells me that they are listening. They're typing those messages, and I think they want to know just as much as we do. That's the vibe I get.
All right, guys, I'm calling on your help. I'm calling on the chat's help. I cannot find the Sean Cahill footage anywhere all of a sudden. If anyone can find it, and please send it to me in the chat or something. For some reason, I cannot find it. I had a whole thread about it. I don't understand. It's like gone. It just disappeared.
It's Men in Black, I'm telling you. Sly dogs.
And then
I think I may have found it.
It should look like a mountain range in the background.
Yeah, here, I'll put the link in our
private
StreamYard chat here. Oh shit!
I want to get that up and played so everyone can see
F12.
What I'm talking about.
It's a Reddit post.
Yeah, I also think Burchett is in the know, and he's getting briefing by Rubio. Oh, so it was on Reddit. That's why.
I went and searched it on Twitter and then found the Reddit post.
Yeah, because I shared the Reddit post earlier, I thought. I guess I didn't.
Right, you're just looking around for it.
Well, let me get this up here.
So, Juan, I agree with that. If you feel that you have something that needs to reach her desk and you feel like you need to be the one to send it, like, we encourage anyone in this community to do what you're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely encourage you, right to your representatives and let them know that you're interested and you not just interested, but that we need to be studying this in a larger capacity, in a more rigorous way, that this is not just some stigmatized fairy tale, that this is a real unfortunately we're going to have to frame it as a national security thing just to get their attention, but we all know it's much more complex than that.
Very much so. Very well said, though.
So, okay, so here is, of course, now I'm having...
I haven't seen this footage, by the way, so this is actually, you guys are getting a live reaction, because I have not seen this footage yet.
Is there volume or...
So was this taken by Cahill?
Yeah. Can you see it right?
Oh yeah. Oh
right
yeah.
There?
Plain as day.
Now look at the mountain range.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Dude, what the hell is that?
Let's go back though. Look at the mountain range. And look at the terrain.
Yeah, dude. It's the color, like
That's Lou's property for sure. And then there it is. Now, airplanes would not fly this low, guys.
it seems to be
It
slowing down
yeah, and it's
too.
going very slow.
Where are the wings? Where are the propellers? You know, like where are those usual discernible features? It doesn't even look. I could be wrong because of the distance. It doesn't look like it's all that
It
big.
also could be slowed down.
Look how low it's getting.
Yeah, it's super low.
I mean,
That's why I'm saying
at least
it's
it
not
looks
an
that way.
airplane. An airplane would be
No.
like even a private airplane could not fly that low. Legitimately, like safely.
Yeah, no, and they
Unless,
would never.
yeah, and not that slow. There's no way you could fly that slow without falling out of the sky, unless you were,
Yeah, no.
unless it's a hang glider. Like
Yeah, but a hang glider would. That's not the motion of a hang glider, though. That looks like. I gotta be honest. It looks anti-gravitic, because
so.
it looks like it has that like that freedom to move around.
Now look,
That's really weird, man. Yeah, that's it, dude.
That's definitely Lou's property for sure. But and that guess who the first one to attack about that was?
Oh, Greenstreet.
Good old Steven motherfucking Greenstreet.
He's very
the
purple in
first
that
one.
image.
Yeah, he is. I made sure of it.
Very purple. One-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
So Greenstreet starts attacking it about it. It's like, why? Just because they saw it at Elizondo's, does that make it a hoax?
Yeah.
Like, is that what he's inferring?
So, probably. He's like, oh, see, to me that begs more questions, like, because the phenomenon seems to follow certain kinds of people. It's like there's UFO sightings on Lou's property, and he was, head of ATIP. Like, that should be raising some actual reasonable, serious inquiry as to why that could be occurring. Is this something that's been following Lou his whole life, and that's why he got into, ATIP, and why maybe that's the real reason? Because he's been very, he's been very coy about his own interactions with the phenomenon, I've noticed.
Yeah. Okay. So Sean did say that Lou was yeah. It is a little bit confusing because I think I really do think that Lou is trying to stay away. Like, really stay away from the UFO community right now. And I don't think he wanted to be involved in any of it. So I think Sean just tried to play it off like it was just filmed. But Reddit, of course, took the time to figure that shit out. They wanted to know, because absent from what Sean posted was where, when, conditions. He didn't give us any data along with the video. And a guy of his stature, you'd expect that from him. And he didn't do any of that. So why did he do that? Maybe it was because he doesn't want to give away where Lou lives.
That's very possible. That's a great reason. I got to be honest.
But so, I mean, I'd like to hear what the chat has to say about it. Do you guys think that there's... I've also heard, now I don't want to speculate, but I've also heard that in recent years, Sean Cahill has kind of gotten more into the woo sides of things. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing at all, but
no, I don't think it is either. I feel so like there's an unreleased video I did talking in the van one day at work, and I feel like people, like, instead of saying woo, should just say high strangeness, because woo is when things just get so weird that you kind of expect people that you tell the story to just look at you like you have two heads. But there's a lot of it out there, and I feel like us not discussing it, like, we're leaving out data, at that point. Right. But I get what you're saying, though. There's like a line in the sand, and I have my own too, just like you have yours, and I'm sure Love has his. But my question is, though, like, what do you think of the footage itself? Like, let's forget that it's even Sean. It kind of does, right? It kind of almost looks like a paper airplane. Like, and I don't mean airplane, but it just reminds me of one. Not to say that it is one or an airplane.
And it does look anti-gravitic in a sense.
It's weird. Like the
where
motion is
now
very
look,
strange.
this is really low. Like it's really low.
Yo, I gotta be honest.
Definitely.
For a second there, it looked like it was going to turn, and then it like went like it went. If you can see me on camera, it went like this, like it's like scanning. You know what I mean? It looked like it was gonna
Right.
turn, but yeah, it
That's-
does sort of look triangular.
It definitely it's. But I've never seen a white. I've never heard of a white triangle. Have you ever heard of a white triangle?
Yes, I actually have. It's not very common compared to the black and sometimes even silver, but yes, there has been some, but I can't tell you the last time I saw a piece of footage of one.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
there has been.
I'm trying to interpret what you're saying. It is sus that if footage was filmed on his property, he wouldn't be aware. It's not an attack. It's genuinely caused one of my close mates in the field to see this as a psyop. Now, as much a psyop from Lou?
Yeah, so what she's saying is like, if let's say this is Lou's property, right? I was like,
then how would he not be aware this was filmed?
Like how did someone film a UFO? It'd be like if you came to my house and filmed a UFO and I didn't know about it. I think that's
okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
are we saying, or is the truth that Lou didn't know it was filmed, or Lou didn't know that he was going to make the video public?
I feel like it's the latter of the two. I think that's what was meant by that, personally.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. I mean, if it's filmed on Lou's property, I would assume that the first thing Cahill did was like, "Hey, Lou, dude, look, I fucking shot a UFO. I literally saw and took video of a fucking UFO on your property."
Mm-hmm.
The guy that used to be in the program about UFOs, who brought me onto a TV show about UFOs, like. I find that very hard. And if that's the narrative that's being put out, I find that highly, highly suspect.
So Juan wants you to open up the phone lines, by the way. He's like eager. Apparently he's got something to say about this. He's coming in hot, Ty. He's coming in hot, bro.
If he would check Twitter, I said that. I said I'd open it in 10 minutes.
There you go. There it is. We'll get you on, man. I'm curious to hear what he has to say about this too, because this is interesting. Because there's like two camps for this. It's like one side thinks Lou is the good guy, the other side thinks it's a psyop. Like,
yeah. Now, are we wasting our time? Like,
possibly.
This begs the question: are we wasting our time trying to figure out if it's a psyop? When we could actually, like, why the fuck does it matter if Lou worked at ATIP? Why does it matter that every single part of his credentials are validated? Are these the questions we really should be asking? Like, he's not involved anymore. So whatever, let's move on. Like, Greenwald is obsessed with, the and I get it, they want to get people the truth and people. But I think there's enough evidence to suggest that Lou did work, or at least was a part of the program.
Harry Reid's letter was enough for me, dude. Like, I'm sorry, but like rarely do you, like, if you don't see politicians come out and make statements like that, like in the way that he did it, to support a lie. Typically they avoid saying anything unless they have to. He did that of his own volition and accord. Like, I don't know, man. At no point did I ever really get the vibe that Lou was full of it. Honestly, I haven't. And that's just, I know some people disagree with me, and that's fine.
Oh, I've always had like, and maybe this is the optimist in me, but I've always had a sense of like trust in Lou. Right. I don't know why. It's like, I think it's his presence. It makes me trust him.
Hey, hold on a second. So on. Listen, I'm really like good friends with the UFO chick on Twitter, and I've actually talked to her like through one of these StreamYards. Listen, she's very much just like the rest of us, and very much she does respect Lou. Honestly, again, I feel like if you were able to hear her speak, you might understand where she's coming from better. Sometimes things get kind of like lost in translation when it's just text, and you don't hear like inflection. Like, she's not trying to spread misinformation. She's just giving her opinion on the situation, and she's also talking about a friend of hers who thinks a certain way about Lou and maybe others, but she's very much her own person, and she's just a question, honestly.
And I always promote a very healthy debate.
Yeah, that's why I don't want that to get in like too.
Yeah. So again,
crazy.
let's not take it too personally to that level. But again, I always revert to that question: are we wasting our time? Like, does it actually even does it detract or do something negative to the UFO field if we spend so much time looking into these things that really don't matter at the end of the day? I mean, they do, right? Like, because Lou's brought out a lot of stuff. He was part of that initial story that broke in 2017. He was the fucking story, if anything. So yes, of course, those things would be called into question if we ever found out it was a lie. But I just don't think that's the case.
No, I'm with you on this, Ty. I again, we really do kind of have to take a step back and be like, all right, are we asking the right questions here? Because again, regardless of what Lou's done, Chris Mellon and others, it still doesn't change the fact that I had a giant triangle fly over my head when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like these people, regardless of these people.
And that's what I'm saying with Love. That's why I bring Love in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know why? Because when I'm talking about all this current event shit, he's like, dude, I don't need confirmation from anybody.
Right.
I see these things all the time.
Yeah. Love off the show. He really, like, Love has shared with me some wild experiences, and I saw some of the footage he took, and I was like, I didn't know what to expect. And I was like, some of them, I was like, dude, save. Like, wow, I'm keeping those and I'm throwing them into one of my files on my computer where it's like, I need to go back and really look at that. That's weird. Like,
man, and I always tell people, like, if you really want to check out my footage, I don't care if you use some type of forensics or some type of thing to really see if it's legit or not. You can really go deep into my footage.
And I believe that's real footage that you took. I do.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Because like I said, like I always say, I never seen anything like that in my life after I started doing contact.
Right, and that's big, man. Like that's big. And it again, I think Ty probably shares this, being that he worked in the film industry. Like, I feel like I personally have a decent eye to spot CGI. I do not see any indication whatsoever that any of what you sent me was altered or manipulated in any way.
Yeah, I've seen all of his footage as well.
It's weird,
and I don't think it's altered at all. I would actually say that his is some of the more credible that I've seen.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I was actually like astonished. There was one in particular where the motion of the orb object in question was enough to make me go, whoa, like, oh my God, did you see that?
And the funny thing is that whole orb thing, Love doesn't even know that his sightings like share a deep connection with that of Chris Bledsoe.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Chris Bledsoe is the guy who coined the term orb, or the current way we say it in reference to UFOs. That is basically, that came from the Bledsoe story, because so it's kind of ironic in that way, and that's what you should read his book, UFO of God.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it would resonate deeply with you, Love. You might pick up some things in that book that we may not, because you had those experiences, and that might give us a better sense of whether or not Mr. Bledsoe and his family are credible or not, which, again, I believe their story personally, just like on a gut level. But being that you had a similar experience, there might be some things that you pick up that like happened to you that maybe you don't speak about, and you don't have to share that, but you could come back and be like, hey, I read the book. This guy's legit. Like,
oh yeah,
I would
definitely check it out.
Very curious to hear your opinion on his story.
Also, to kind of throw a little plug here, I got an advanced copy of Estimate of the Situation.
Nice.
Their Project Blue Book comic. It is so friggin' good.
Fire.
So good. And he's gonna be doing an interview with me tomorrow. And we're gonna create like a video for it, an early review. And it's if you haven't already, definitely search Estimate of the Situation on Twitter, and all the links and stuff are there. Or watch the video tomorrow, and the links will be in the description. It's so good. It's already sold out like 3 times.
Such a nice guy too. I talked to him on Twitter a couple of times. Unbelievably talented, and like it's great work. It's great work, honestly.
Yeah,
Bledsoe thinks
he's Jesus.
Yeah, I want to know the context behind that. Actually,
okay. A lot of people think that Chris Bledsoe thinks that he's the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, that's an issue.
By context of, although I'll say this, I know people who have said, I'm losing my voice if you can't tell.
Oh, that was good. That was a good. Yeah, I'm clipping that.
Yeah. A lot of people have told me after I talked to Chris Bledsoe about coming on the show, I started asking people I trust about him, and one of them said that he whispered in her ear that he had the power of Christ.
Well, that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Again, I did not say that. It came out of someone else's mouth. I didn't say it. I have no belief in it, but that's what I heard. And this person thinks that the CIA got to him.
Mm.
And it would not be the first time.
No, it would not.
It would not. Now we know that Richard Doty, an OSI agent, planted false stories into the head of Paul Benowitz. And basically drove the OSI drove Paul Benowitz insane. And to the point where he killed him. I believe he killed himself.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did.
They
not
were
right, man.
Yeah, they even flew him over Papoose Lake or something like that, and showed him they staged a bunch of shit, and they were feeding stuff into his computer, alien messages. And
radio frequencies and whatnot. Because he had some equipment hooked up.
So wow. Someone was trying to infer that they may have done the same thing to Chris Bledsoe. Now,
okay.
Take with that with what you will. I didn't say it. I don't believe it necessarily, but the CIA and other entities are not clean. Their hands aren't clean in that sense. So no. I could.
And his footage is on Instagram for anybody that wants to look Chris Bledsoe up. Not hard to find. I don't know. The footage impressed me. So did the CIA go out there and create fake ball lightning? It's like I saw what I saw on his IG.
And he says that he has other footage that would literally be smoking gun footage.
So then why wouldn't he release that?
Right.
The next question.
I want to wait. Does it look like orbs flashing?
No, they're like the ones I saw. They were just like, imagine like slow motion, like ball lightning, just like a glowing orb dancing around. But they go really low, sometimes just a couple feet above the ground. Then they go up to the treetop, and they don't dissipate. They just like move away, and they look intelligently controlled.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I've seen, like I've said, I've had many types of experiences, and I remember I was on my balcony. And I was seeing this orb just passing by, calmly passing by, and it kind of looked like it had sometimes it looked like, imagine if if mist were to come out of it, but like almost like it had stretched out wings. It didn't look like wings, but you know what I mean? Like if an orb had like some mystical type of like mist, and then it was just floating past by me. Very close.
It's kind of like the transparent wings that you see in the movie Knowing on the beings. It's like they're like implied wings.
Right, but it's not really wings. It's just, it's just an orb passing by,
Yeah.
Right.
Can anyone what is Chris Bledsoe's YouTube? We could play a couple of them. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it. And while we're doing that, guys, we will finally as requested open up the lines. So here we go. All right. The listener call-in line is now active. And the first one we take is always the hardest one. So let me make sure that we're doing this correctly.
Don't show the call screen, because we don't want to show their numbers.
Yeah, privacy and
just in case. I don't want any unintentional lawsuits occurring tonight.
Yeah, well then we got to figure out a way to hide it.
Call from
Sawan.
How do I?
Hello? Hello?
All right, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. What's up?
All right, now
What's up,
Cortex,
What's up,
can you hear them?
Yeah, I can hear him just fine.
All right,
Can you hear me?
now I can go like that, and now can everyone hear each other?
Yep.
I heard Love. I can hear you.
Hello?
Sawan, I can hear you now too. Yep.
Hello?
Hello.
Yo. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, Ty.
So you can only hear me?
Yeah.
Ah, God damn it.
We'll work with it. If I got to feed him a question, whatever.
All right.
It's worked out.
All right.
It's an
Well,
influence.
Sawan, if they have a question for you, I'll ask. But you have about 5 minutes to discuss what you'd like, and we're here to listen. The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, so regarding Sean's and that image of that video, so Sean described it in a podcast. Growing up, he didn't have the best childhood, and he didn't know how to deal with the phenomenon when he first saw the Tic Tac event, because he was looking at with Kevin Day. This is before they even captured the Tic Tac on the Flitter video. He saw all these little Tic Tacs coming in, and they were orbiting each other, and then they would go in and then just pop out of existence. So then he woke up the next morning, and then Kevin Day was smiling and like, look what we caught on video. So he didn't even know how to he didn't know what to deal with it. So he said this in the podcast. He kept the experience of whatever he saw personal, because he feels it's a very personal, metaphysical thing that you don't need to share with everyone.
Right.
So
Right.
So I believe him when he said that he didn't tell Lou, because that's what it is. It's a very personal thing.
So what do you have to say on the fact that he didn't tell Lou that he was going to post this?
Oh, I believe him, because that wasn't. This has gone out of context, right? So this was in a personal podcast with I forgot his name, and Sean was opening up, and they were talking about the phenomenon, what he thinks, and he shared some video and photos. This wasn't like something that he was going to post on Twitter.
Right.
This was taken out of context from a podcast.
So the video came from a podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he shared it on a podcast.
Yeah, and then some Redditor who has probably an agenda took it and blew it out of context. That's what happened.
Interesting. So you don't think there's any any fakery going on here? You think this is a genuine thing? And it just
I don't know what it is, and frankly, I mean it's impressive by the shape of it. It's white, like it looks white, and it kind of looks like a triangle. But it's whatever. And then people say, why didn't you go and run and try to catch it? Look how far it is. You think Sean's gonna go run and sprint and catch up to it? No, it's gonna be gone. It's just common sense things that really irritates me. It's just sheer stupidity.
And
also, I wanted to talk about the Corbell thing. Yeah, people are saying it's a missile. I've never seen a missile with a wake pattern like that. So what I understand from physics and from astronomy is spaces that are very void of matter, they're very cold. So if this thing is using some kind of space-time metric engineering, or it would be having a void around it, the space would be void, right? Because it's moving through dimensions or whatever.
Okay.
And that would be extremely cold compared to the surrounding.
Okay.
And you can see that in spatial voiding around like places where there's no matter. It's very cold compared to the universal background radiation. So that's probably what's going on there. But I don't know. But then the other thing is, I only got 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna keep going on. So yeah, I'm gonna send those images. I'm gonna leave Corbell's name out to Senator Gillibrand because Arrow doesn't have this. So I feel like the more we push her, the better the chance of her being convinced enough to get a hearing going. Because I'm sure she's fed up, but she needs that push. You know, these senators need that push.
Is that your goal?
Yes, I want. Yes, because that's where you get fuck ups, and that's where you get answers, right? That's where you get people that are because when you're in a hearing, you have to legally testify, and they know if the Air Force is involved with all this, there's no plausible deniability. They have to tell the truth.
Yeah. But what I'm often afraid of is when they do the 2 hearings, one open door and one closed door, and then they have those, the answer, all the good answers are locked away behind a closed session. That really frustrates me. And it is what it is. I get it, right? There's classified, there's unclassified, but I think, it's finally time to open up this subject to like actual peer review, scientific, rigorous study, and, getting everybody involved because again, this isn't just a government problem.
And I agree. And I think I'm not sure, but this is a good way. If I were to do it after 75 years of obfuscation and lying, I would say these are NHI probes. So that way I can also explain as the government crash retrievals. Because when they ask me, how long have you known about it? I'd be like, well, these NHI probes, they've been visiting Earth and we've had some of them crashes and we looked, they're benign. There's no weapons in them. The propulsion system was completely destroyed and there was nothing substantial to gain from it. Then you could, in the background, in secret, do a Manhattan-style reverse engineering program. You know what I mean? That's how you explain and just lie. And that's, I think, what Avi Loeb and Kirkpatrick were doing, is they're shoving down the scientific pill that the scientists need to swallow. That look, there was only one hypothesis in that paper, Ty. Did you find that interesting?
I did, I actually have a part of it that I wanted to read.
It's the only hypothesis is the non-human intelligence hypothesis.
That's right.
And that was very interesting. And that's how you shove it down the scientists' throats. And what I think they're going to do, because the Pentagon doesn't want to show videos. So what's for the public to make this less sensational than it actually is, what you show is graphs and tables. You can't really create sensational media headlines from that. But if you show videos, that's more jarring and alarming, right? So they're going to have all these papers, and then when they announce a non-human intelligence probe thing, they're going to be like, did you read the paper? Look, this is what all the paper shows, this is what the report shows, and that's how they're going to answer the questions. And that's when people ask them questions, they're going to fall back on that. Well, that's at least how I would do it.
Well, listen to this. I'll keep you on for this part because I want to read this little blurb. So, and this is from a clip. I clipped it from an article. So, Pentagon UFO chief says alien mothership in our solar system is possible. there's a possibility that extraterrestrial motherships and smaller probes may be visiting planets in our solar system, the head of the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Research Office noted in a report draft shared Tuesday. An artificial interstellar object could potentially be a parent craft that releases many small probes during its close passage to Earth, an operational construct not too dissimilar from NASA missions. Sean Kirkpatrick, director of the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, wrote in a research report, co-authored by Avi Loeb, chairman of
Wow.
Harvard University Astronomy Department.
That's
Now,
oddly specific.
yeah, and this is the same. Now, I don't know if we remember, but from the spaces, you were very upset with Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick.
Yep.
But after
Yes,
this,
but I had time to think about it.
right. Now, what are your current thoughts about?
So I heard on the Micah Hanks show on the Debrief, he has a podcast. I was like, Avi, it's really weird. So Avi was saying there's nothing really to this, but then when he goes on mainstream media, I guess he's forced to push a narrative here. And I've been doing some research. I'll find the articles, I'll find the tweets, and I'll send it to you, Ty. He does have security clearances because you need security clearances to go and scavenge the Indo-Pacific Ocean because of China. So he does have some kind of security clearance, and he has seen some kind of data. Now, there's different levels of classification, so he probably just saw the bare minimum. But in the public setting, he says these UAP videos are intriguing. So you see what I'm seeing, the narrative for Kirkpatrick played Avi in a way like, look, we need credible scientists to say there's an NHI probe here, and you're going to start this off for us. And if you do this, we're going to give you some clearances so you can go explore your meteorite in the ocean.
Right. And, potentially fund future projects. Now we know that Harvard, the astronomy department at Harvard, they're getting a whole new like observatory thing installed for the Galileo project. So, that's how I hate to say it, but that's how the real world works, guys. Money rules the world, unfortunately.
And it's not biased. The NHI probe is a very real possibility, but that's the only way you can make the public digest this without going too crazy with. If they say they're beings, immediately, since there is no what's it called, a simulation or a climatization, because the immediate reaction of humanity is going to go to war and try to fight these things. You don't want that. That's why you say NHI probes, because there's nothing in there to fight. Do you see what I'm saying, Ty? From a national security standpoint and from a public relations standpoint, that makes the most sense. You would never want to say there's beings doing with the UAP that are inside UAP that are incursioning on nuclear facilities.
Right. And it's said here, I think a probe would be the best way to disclose, because then we aren't afraid about an invasion. Right?
No, it looks more scientific at that point.
And you slowly, through that, the probe theory is going to buy them 10, 15 years, right? I don't think these three objects that were shot down, I know people are saying, oh, they're just balloons. But I mean, I go back and forth, but the bottom line is the Pentagon was not ready for this. And because of the stovepiping, the Air Force generals didn't know what to do. They got a presidential order from Biden. So Biden told them to shoot it down. They didn't have enough time to react. So because it's a presidential order, they did it. And they opened up the filter, right? So it's going to be very interesting. There's a quarterly report coming in by the end of this month. How many UAPs are they going to find that now the NORAD filter is open?
That's
like,
a great
that
question.
could be the reason why we're seeing a massive push for funding from Gillibrand, because they went from, what's his name, Salas said they went from 3 to 21 within a week.
Wow.
Wait. Salas, Robert
Salas was interviewed by Arrow.
And he said
yes. Robert Salas in the Daily Mail, Josh Boswell, said when they interviewed Arrow, they went from 3 people to 21 to potentially 30 to 35 right now within weeks.
And
That doesn't happen unless you're getting a shitload of data that's coming in, right? And that's probably just from Navy and NORAD radar, okay? That's not even the Air Force's historical data. And Salas said when he was talking to the Aero director that the Air Force hasn't been cooperating with them.
I was going to say that's another problem that we're facing. And Cortex, I know you can't hear him. Maybe
that's all right.
Maybe if you, I don't know if you're calling on your phone. I was going to say maybe have the show on in the background so you could hear them.
I was typing some stuff in the chat.
I'm calling on my phone.
Yeah, I figured that out.
You got to bring me in the back. You got to bring me around in the back, man.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the call-in though. I've been wanting to push a segment like this on people for so long that like I'm forcing it at this point because I like it so much. But actually, there are plans in the works right now for us to be moving from StreamYard to Zencaster. I don't know the full details yet, but that UFO podcast uses them, and they we've been reached out to by it. So again, we're talking about
you can bring multiple people that way.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool different things that we could do with Zencasters, especially. So I'm super excited about that. Now, you know what? I don't think anyone is calling or is trying to call while you're on the line. So if you want to stick on the line for a minute, we're gonna be we're gonna watch. So Stephen Greenstreet went to AlienCon. Yeah, he went to AlienCon, and he decided that he was going to ask a question to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. Now I'm using this clip from someone on YouTube. I'm going to give them credit in the description below. But again, I did not film this. Shout out to, I'll get his name while we're watching it.
So I have some theories on why it was being able to be recorded. If you want me to go ahead, Ty, or I'll wait until the video's over.
Yeah, wait until it's over.
Okay.
Guys, Stephen Greenstreet here, as a viewer. I have a few questions for you. A few questions for you. I just have one that I'm personally curious about your insight. So the briefing slide that Jay Stratton produced with green triangles on it, those have been demonstrated pretty clearly to be out of focus stars. I mean, when I'm
hold on. You're gonna ask a question, but let's make sure, because you're holding a microphone right now. Your opinion publicly right here is that those have been demonstrated to be out of focus stars. That's your opinion, just to make sure we get that straight. So now continue to your question.
Okay, thank you. And even Travis Taylor has come out and said that he believes that these are out of focus stars. My question being, why so much restraint in the star explanation in the briefing slide by Jay Stratton? What do you have, or what do you believe to say, no, this explanation doesn't make sense, and something like flying pyramids makes more sense than out of focus stars?
That's a good question. A couple things. One is, you'll hear it this afternoon from Jay Stratton, that they have a lot more information that was available behind the scenes than was made public. And I know that Mr. Bray, during that public hearing, showed a video of something that was bokeh on the East Coast and decided that proved that what was seen on the West Coast was the same thing. There's a rangefinder. They shot that off the deck of that ship. Whatever that object was that was closest was 700 feet off the deck of the ship, not a star. If it had been bokeh, as it was explained to me by the guys who studied it, I think what Jay had told us before and what we can expand on today is he had 3 PhDs, optical physicists, that analyzed that stuff. And they figured that if bokeh was the explanation, it would be the stars that were that looked like pyramids, not the object that was closest to the ship. But, you know, I am not an expert on that stuff. I do listen to people who are experts, as opposed to people online who do their own analysis from home and they have a lot more information than what has been made public. I wish I had access to it all, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, it's funny the way you premise things before you ask the question, because that's such just like a question you could ask me, like, normally, but all the premises up to that question are really interesting to me. So the thing is this, is you're saying that I have an opinion on something. Well, you clearly have not been listening to anything that I've said since we released those images, but that's okay. Or like my wife claims to me, I've selective hearing, which I think might be true.
Well, can you clarify what you said? Pyramids.
Talk about it. I think what we should do is we should have people talk for themselves. So I think Travis Taylor should talk for himself. I think Jay Stratton should talk for himself. But when you ask somebody, why do they, have their opinion, but you premise it with all this stuff, the reason I have an opinion is because maybe I've spent a lot of time understanding it on a deeper level, and maybe, just maybe, that's not an isolated thing, and just maybe that's part of a much bigger thing that occurred. But I think that distinguishing thing of if these are in Jay's slide, triangles from an angle of observation, yet pyramid in shape in other documents, let's hear what Jay, if you will,
tell you what, today, this afternoon, I'm going to be talking to Jay and Travis, and I plan to ask them about it, and I am happy to expand on that. Okay.
Thanks, Jeremy. I just want. So you believe that those are not stars in that slide, but flying pyramids? You believe? I just want to know what you personally believe. That's what I'm.
Honestly, if you want to get some quote that you can take out of context and put it in some magazine or what?
No, just curious.
Okay, not sure that's true. So basically, here's the deal. If you want to know what I think, you should just go and look at everything I've ever said about it. I am convinced that what you're seeing there, that there is a shape to it that is representative of what you're seeing. But the thing is, let's say I'm wrong, right? Let's find out. Let's go deeper. Let's get more information on this. Because again, I'm not hanging my hat on a single image produced by our military. That's their job. What I do is I put it out, report what they reported. Now personally, I do have beliefs, but I don't think this is the time or space to be dealing with it this much energy.
Yeah, I think we reported it based on what they reported. So what we're saying is, they said from the angle of observation it appeared to be pyramids in shape.
Thank you, guys.
So there we see it. I think Corbell and Knapp handled that with the utmost respect, even though they knew that Greenstreet was coming in trying to blindside them. I'm sure everybody at AlienCon knew by the tweets that Greenstreet and Mick West were doing that they were going to be there. I'm sure everyone was briefed about it and hey guys, be on the lookout. He's probably going to try to do a gotcha moment. And they were probably all prepped for it in advance to make sure that they weren't caught off guard because these conventions aren't necessarily for those kind of debates. These conventions are to showcase and celebrate and bring the community together, not to divide them like someone like Greenstreet and Mick West will do.
Hey, Ty. You know me. I'm not. Go ahead.
So my theory here,
He's still here.
is with Jay Stratton, they didn't record it because they didn't want anyone to use it. Any spook that could have since it was for public, anyone could go, right? They didn't want any spook to record and be like, aha, a gotcha moment for Jay Stratton to get him in trouble.
Right.
Even though he wasn't going to talk about anything,
So, did they take their cell phones?
Yeah, they took their cell phones. I think they took their cell phones and they stopped people from recording. It was very strict.
Yeah,
but
and listen, I come from the movie side of things, and at Comic-Con and stuff, for because they show big trailers and they show them months before, concerts like Rogan. They always it's common at this point. They put your cell phone in a sealed bag. You have the phone with you. You can't record with it. And if you can leave and then it will unlock, but like while you're in that perimeter, actually, it's funny. Apple is working with certain stadiums, not stadiums, but arenas, so that they can literally just dead the service, or
Holy cow.
dead the ability to
Crazy.
be able to record.
Oh,
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, the future is gonna be crazy. But so anyway, what are your thoughts on Greenstreet and just the attack path that he's been on lately?
Oh my god. So here's the interesting thing about Greenstreet. I looked in his LinkedIn. He was part of the State Department. Okay. He had a relationship with Susan Go. Susan Go was her boss. They used to work together in the State Department. Okay. So for these things, I feel like because how corrupt the Pentagon comes when it comes to UFOs and what they're willing to do, I feel like Stephen Greenstreet was offered a job, because you don't switch to a complete 360 like out of the blue, which is what he did, right? After being so deep into this, he completely switched up. I think he got offered a job saying, look, if you can prevent disclosure, and then when you're done with the New York Times, you come work with us. And you know how nice a Pentagon job is, Ty? It's a six-figure salary.
Yeah.
6-figure salary, pension, right? It's
And
really nice.
And his brother does work for the government.
yep.
His brother does actually, in fact, work for the government. So who knows? Who knows?
Greenwald is the same thing. His brother works for aerospace.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Neither did Tom. It seems like, and listen, this is, not to add to conspiracy soup here, but long have people suspected Mick West, now Stephen Greenstreet and Greenwald, to have been to maybe.
No, I don't think Mick West works for the government. I think he just has a fetish for debunking.
Well,
I
regardless,
looked through his history, and he's just into debunking.
Regardless,
and also he has a crazy what's it called? Irrational fear about aliens taking over when he was a kid or something.
Right.
Oh.
I actually have heard that, Tom, that when he was a child, he was really terrified of aliens.
I can't blame him then, honestly.
Yeah.
'Cause that can really get to somebody.
Yeah,
I know someone who's like that in my
so
family.
my theory is Stratton was no one was allowed to film because they didn't want some spook to try to discredit Stratton, like how they did with Lou, like how the Air Force OSI tried to do an investigation in Lou. You know what I mean?
What's funny is Jay Stratton is the only person to have been involved in every single program. So OSAP.
Jay Stratton is the reason why Congress is so deep into this. They were shown 23 minutes of high definition UAP videos,
which I am dying to get.
Oh, please.
Oh my God. It would be like a dream come true.
The holy fucking grail. Imagine like 23 minutes. Like that's as long as like an episode of Family Guy, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
You just get to sit there and watch a Family Guy worth of episode.
What did Senator Heinrich say when he came out of that briefing? He's like, it looked like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
He said that. And regarding
Rubio,
he's like, he doesn't like talking about this because of the stigma. Same with Mark Warner, but they're heavily interested in this and heavily involved as well. But they just don't show it publicly, like Gillibrand.
Right.
But unless they have to. When those 3 objects came down, then they had some political shielding so they could talk about it. But Rubio has been briefing, what's his name, Burchett, because Burchett even said that he had classified meetings regarding these things, regarding UAPs in Florida. Now, who's in Florida? Rubio.
That's right. So one has clearly done his research.
And Senate Armed Service Committee, Ty, they can brief lower members of Congress.
Yeah, can you hold on 1 minute? I gotta grab my notebook.
Okay.
Swan, I don't know if you can hear me in any capacity on your phone or whatever,
Cortex,
but
if you have any questions, man, fire away.
yeah. Well, I'll say this to Ty real quick.
We gotta find a way so that you guys we can all
Well,
talk.
here, Ty, you can tell him that
I said if
I
Cortex
do
has any
remember him
questions for me, he can fire away.
I do remember him from the space the other night.
Yeah, he
and
was the one who
he knows his stuff, man. Like I can tell just by the way he's talking about this. I just wanted
I'm
to
very
compliment
interested
him on
in
that.
the geopolitical area of disclosure. To me,
Yeah.
that's absolutely fascinating.
He sounds well read on it, so I'm
Tom
impressed.
is saying that you're you sound well read, and he's impressed that impressed. But can you hold on 1 second?
Yeah.
Love's gotta bounce out, and I just want to let him get his final goodbye. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, brother. Where can people find you and continue that conversation with you?
Oh, on Exterior Knowledge, YouTube podcasts, and as well as Instagram, Love is Perspective.
All right, brother, and we hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, man.
You know we love you. Every Thursday, you're welcome.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
See you later, bro.
All right. Let me bring Buddy back in. Buddy boy back in.
So today something really interesting happened as well. It like flew under the radar because of the Lou and Sean House thing. Senator Gillibrand asked the NORTHCOM NORAD commander about UAPs and nuclear incursion. She went there.
Yeah.
She went there.
She did go there.
She did, yeah. Oh, you saw it.
Yeah, and you sent me the clip, and that's why I actually would love for you to continue to do what you've been doing, because you send me a lot of the stuff that I miss, so I definitely appreciate what you do. So I keep on sending all of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting on the way this is going, and I hope they need a push for hearings, because it's very interesting when those 3 objects got shot down. Not only did Congress and all the Senate get briefed, but the governors get briefed. So Ty, you got to ask yourself, why did all the governors get briefed on UAP?
Right? Why do they?
All the governors. Oh, you didn't know that?
But no, why do they get briefed?
I don't know, which means it's a planned disclosure. That's the only option that I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say that the governors would have to be involved, because the governors are, we have our representatives, but the governors, the mayors, right? These are all the people that deal with locals. So, these are going to be the people that the locals go to for answers. So they need to be, if something's in the works, then they need to know, right? They need to at least be informed.
They need to know, yeah.
Yeah.
They need to know. And now that the filter's open, how many are we going to see, for example, for 500 to 2,000 within 3 months? Oof. How alarming is that going to be, Ty?
Incredibly alarming. Ty, get his Twitter name.
It's the can of worms, the Pandora's box has been opened because of the NORAD radar being finally opened up. So I believe the Air Force intentionally was filtering these things out because it was too overwhelming, all the data that was going to come in towards this, right? And those 3 objects that they, whatever they were, let's say they were balloons. But I think Lou Mellon took that as an advantage to brief everyone on what's going on. And the White House is involved with this because the White House feels like, you've heard the story by what Ross Coulthard said, right?
Yes.
What do you think about that?
What do I think about in terms? Okay, so Coulthard said a lot. What exactly are you referring to?
The Navy, very senior commander in the Navy, went to the White House and ratted the Air Force out.
Oh, okay. Yes. I think, yes, because I think then, you know why? I think the Navy's starting to get pissed off that they've been basically directed to be, forthcoming, to give up the data, and they've been cooperating, yet the Air Force is nowhere to be found. No one's asking the Air Force questions, or at least they're asking, and the Air Force is refusing or dragging their feet. And I think,
or Ty, it's the Navy's, the Air Force is directly involved in getting involved into naval operations when it comes to UAP, coming onto their ship, obfuscating data,
yes,
telling people to be quiet and stuff like that. They have no jurisdiction of duty to do that.
Right.
They're overstepping their power.
And when we talk about people like Gary Voorhees, Kevin Day, who said that, someone who looked like they were from the Air Force showed up on the Nimitz, took the data, and got back on the helicopter and left. Right. So,
Yeah.
and then
So I don't think we're gonna learn about crash retrievals unless they have to tell us about something on it. But we're gonna see the economic effect of it. What I mean from that is we're kind of right now heading towards a recession. We're gonna start seeing all of a sudden, out of the blue, kind of miraculously, the economy is starting to bounce back a bit. Right, you're going to see a boom because there's going to be thousands and thousands of scientists working in a Manhattan-style crash retrieval program trying to reverse engineering this shit. You're going to see the economic value of oil and gas going down, and you're also going to hear in the news random high-ranking top brass military officials being fired without cause.
And you think this is the legitimate truth?
Yeah,
that
I think
people are going to be held accountable.
I think they're going to be held accountable because it's a huge national security issue. If you have UAPs that are incursions doing whatever they want, right, in our airspace, Congress, the president has no idea about it, and only the Air Force knows about it. The Air Force here is acting like a fourth branch of government. They're even trying to obfuscate in front of. They told President Biden, they told President Biden not to look into this, but President Biden said, "Screw that, I'm looking into it."
Right. And you know what? As much as I don't like Biden, as a president, I think that he's at least knowledgeable enough to be able to work the inner workings of a very broken system. He's been in it longer than almost anybody around. So he knows how to get around.
President Biden's a full-blown skeptic, and I believe he doesn't want to give us transparency, but his hand has been forced.
Yeah.
Right, especially after the United States started shooting shit.
The three objects came down because now the president knows and Congress knows they can't control this phenomenon. It could happen tomorrow, a mass sighting. And who are people going to ask? They're not going to blame the Pentagon. The Pentagon's going to be like, I don't know, ask your representative. Ask Congress. They told me.
Everybody is going to point the finger at everybody else. Yep. You know why? Because we don't know. And that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems is
now that Arrow's been involved, everyone's going to be pointing the finger at Arrow and Gillibrand, Rubio, on why did you not tell us the truth when you had the chance?
Right.
So they have to hold hearings this year. I think it is going to happen. I am hearing really big things from a couple of sources in the summertime. I know you probably heard of this too, that in the summertime, big things are coming.
Yes.
I'm hearing that NASA is going to start hearings from astronauts about their UAP sightings in space.
So bringing astronauts back in for briefings?
In the public.
In public?
Wow.
Public hearings on
NASA. If there is public, that would be unprecedented.
Because you need to bridge the gap, right? You need to bridge this gap between prosaic and non-prosaic. If you can see, you can have as many papers as you want, but still the scientific community is going to be skeptic. But if you have NASA coming out and saying they've seen UAPs in space, and then you say the space probe theory, you see how you connect those 2 points together?
Right.
And just people believe it automatically, right? So NASA's probably going to have to show some kind of footage, but it's going to be blurry objects like the Cahill video, right? But because it's in space, people are gonna know it's UAP,
Right.
right?
But I mean, should we be taking more of a stance to try to, because now that I think about it, say there was the next mass sightings, the next Phoenix Light situation, right? It's going to be a
Yeah.
lot different
Oh.
than what happened in 1997,
More
because
footage.
now everyone has phones,
Yeah.
right? And if we have the whole city, a city's worth of people outside taking footage of a craft that shows a V shape. Now, that's all that showed in that footage. Imagine what would show up in today's footage. If
Oh my gosh.
we'd probably have a little bit more visible um um we'd know that the lights were attached to one craft rather than being multiple. But just what would the government do in that situation?
The Pentagon is very scared of that, and that's why I think they're starting to give us this confirmation. We're heading towards a confirmation period of basically obfuscating and denial to confirmation. I'll give you an example. So Chris Sharp, for example, asked Susan Go about.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Chris Sharp writes for the Liberation Times.
Great journalist. So he wrote an email asking about what was he asking? Okay, he asked about this paper, Avi Loeb and Kirkpatrick. So he never said it was extraterrestrial. Okay, he just wanted more details on it. So she said that Kirkpatrick is going to be working on more papers, but there is no evidence in our department of any extraterrestrial life. Do you see how they're finally addressing that elephant in the room?
Yes.
Even though they're saying there's no evidence, but they're addressing it. Before, they wouldn't even go there. She specifically said in-word extraterrestrial. She typed that up.
Well, that's the thing is and that's why I was kind of pissed at first. But Avi Loeb was always the guy known to not be afraid to ask the question, what if this is extraterrestrial? So, that's why I was excited for I am excited for the Galileo project. I am excited for his involvement because he brings another level of specialty, expertise, and just nobleness to this subject in its scientific research, along with guys like Gary Nolan. Now, did you hear about? Did you guys hear? I think Gary was on the UAP Studies podcast, and he had said that there was an experiment done. I can't remember by who, but that they basically were able to communicate with something, and they didn't. They don't know who it was. They don't know what it was, but they were able to communicate with something, and they couldn't recreate it was a one-time thing. But
so this kind of happened at Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, so from Joe Merja on UFO Twitter, he was talking about some of the things that Stratton experienced at Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I'm really skeptical about Skinwalker Ranch, but now that Stratton's talking about it, I'm thinking about maybe looking into it more. Okay. As crazy as it sounds, it ties in with the 411 connections perfectly.
Oh boy.
Stratton and Travis Taylor, they saw a predator-like being that was cloaked, and above their heads there was a giant black, I don't think giant, but there was a Delta UAP. Now, what do we hear about 411 connections? Ty, do you have any knowledge on that?
Well, are you talking about in connection to the UFO phenomenon?
Yeah, missing 411.
Well, saying so the reason that people connect the two is that a lot of people have sightings in the area. At the same time, one of these people goes missing. Also, the fact that you could dig a little deeper into it and say that a lot of people talk about that treaty that Eisenhower signed, how that they can,
yeah.
how people would be only taken from like places like national parks and stuff like that. But there's other stuff like people who had been missing, like the little girl that was missing. They checked this one area like 9 times, and then
And
a
they couldn't
day
find her.
later, she's right there, right? Like,
So
in it,
what do we learn from this? If there's a cloak, have you watched the movie Predator?
yeah.
I know what he's getting at.
What do we learn from this, Ty? That what if these beings that are predator-like, right? They're abducting people, and there's no sound because they can control that. If their craft can control it, they can control it when they go and abduct people. They're cloaked, so they're very invisible, so you don't see anything. They're there for a second, and then they're vanished. It's just a food for thought, right? It's very interesting that it ties in with this connection pretty well. And yeah, Strand's going to be on the next season of Skinwalker. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. I'm working on because I'm friends with Caleb from Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch,
Mhm.
and like I brought him over to that space that night,
Yep.
and he's gonna be on a podcast in the next like week or two. But he's also helping me get the other guys from the ranch to appear on the show potentially. Nothing's confirmed.
That would be crazy if you can get Stratton on.
Well, Stratton is
You would blow up.
Yeah, Stratton is a stretch. If I can get Travis Taylor, I'm fine with that.
Oh hell yeah!
So here's
Any
the
of them.
bias of Greenwald, okay? So just a Travis Taylor. You
Yeah.
want to hear the bias of Greenwald? Okay.
So, wait. The caller's name is Sawan.
Who's
That's
asking?
right.
Someone just said, "Oh, sorry, I missed the name of the caller." So I just wanted to say it's Sawan. But you have a couple more minutes, Sawan, because I do want to move on to watching Senator Gillibrand talk about nukes and nukes and UFOs. But give us your final thoughts.
Okay, so Travis Taylor. Okay, so Greenwald was praising Travis Taylor a lot, right? Like when he came on his show and to talk about his involvement with the UAPTF, and then Travis Taylor, like he vouches for Stratton. And when Stratton was talking, Greenwald, high extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, but he didn't say that with Travis Taylor.
Huh.
And Travis Taylor's been working on Skinwalker Ranch for millennia, and he's on Ancient Aliens almost every episode.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Tim Burchett.
Where's the same thing?
Tim Burchett was also on Ancient Aliens.
Really?
Yeah, Tim Burchett appeared on Ancient Aliens, yet no one ever brings it up. Like, and even by the way, I'm sure everybody knows by now, but Dan Zetterstrom is going to be on Ancient Aliens. We've had him on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
From that UFO podcast. But Andy,
I can't wait until people call him a grifter.
Oh yeah,
man!
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't wait.
But yeah, jump back on YouTube and we'd love to get your comment.
Yeah, okay.
Because we're gonna thank you. And again,
for sure.
With this caller line, we want everyone to feel like they can call. And it's completely judgment free. We're not looking to ridicule anyone. And if you or someone that military or civilian, have had a close encounter of the first through fourth kind, and you want to share your story, reach out to me.
Ty, I see Cortex wants to message me on Twitter. I'm in Twitter jail for arguing with the debunker.
Oh yeah.
Could you set up the group chat if you don't mind?
Yeah, I sure will.
Appreciate
Thank
that,
you.
Ty.
All righty. All right. Thank you, Sawan. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I like Collins, man. I like.
He did. Let me just say now that he should be able to hear me at this point if he's got it, his phone going. Excellent research on his part. I know. He got a little feisty.
So your
chat
first meeting of him
was
at that Spaces, and it was very overwhelming. But
it was passionate. That's what I liked.
But that was the person that I've known for a while now. You know,
Yeah.
he does this amazing thing for me where he sends me all the articles and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
because I'd like to, I do it for others. I have some people that do send me stuff. I send them stuff. It creates like a nice web of people where if something breaks, we're all talking to each other. Like no
Yeah.
one's left out, no man left behind. I feel like that's a great thing to get going. Like it's essentially like a little group without it being a group. So that's really good. I think his insight on the geopolitical aspect of what he was talking about was very well read. Honestly, he could very well like be someone that is on a podcast that can talk about these subjects at length. So kudos to Sawan, man. Like you know your stuff. Seriously, that was really impressed by that.
You know, if this podcast keeps getting bigger, I'll probably be bringing a producer. So I'll be hiring for that job.
Michael Bay.
Mike,
we have explosions.
Like, imagine
giant robots.
There's just robots fucking fighting while we're talking about UFOs. We're trying to interview Travis Taylor, and Optimus Prime runs through the screen.
Travis. Imagine like Optimus in that voice. Travis Taylor, and then the music just fades in, just like dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's like just so epic.
So guys, moving on. One of our last topics of the night is Senator Gillibrand is an absolute force of nature when it comes to the UAP topic. Not only did she single-handedly basically push the UAP task force through Congress, but she has been a champion of the topic ever since. Now, we're going to watch a clip of her talking to the Senate Armed Service.
Senate Armed Services Committee, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Oh, yeah, it says on the top.
And they're speaking about the Space Command budgets. So without further ado, I'll let her do her thing.
Foresee that Aero needs additional resources or additional sensors or additional detection to be able to do their job more thoroughly?
Amen, sister.
I would probably have to defer that to my partner in Northcom to be able to answer that question. So I don't, with what I know, I don't have a good answer for you in that regard, ma'am.
I'll follow up for the record on that. While Canada has promised to invest $38 billion over the next 20 years in NORAD updates, our radars in the North warning system are pretty old and are in known locations. Can you update us in this setting on how you're modernizing our defenses in Alaska and north of our border?
So if you're talking NORAD, Northcom systems, I'd have to defer to
And then how is STRATCOM adjusting our missile defense capabilities to respond to the threats you mentioned in your opening statement of hypersonic glide vehicles and hypersonic cruise missiles, to the extent you can answer that in this setting?
I would prefer, if we could, ma'am, in the closed setting to be able to address those.
That's fine.
concerns.
General Dickens,
that I got.
the Space Force is working on a commercial augmentation space reserve, which would give us a civil reserve space fleet if we needed one during a conflict or a crisis. How is SpaceCom supporting Space Force's efforts to build this reserve?
Thank you, Senator. So that is a great initiative. I think it's we need that, especially as I described earlier, our leveraging commercial industry to augment, provide additional capabilities to us. The way we're working with them is, as the combatant command and warfighter, we're providing our perspective in terms of requirements for those types of relationships. In other words, we will have the operational piece in terms of what those contractors could or could not face in the space domain. So we participate in that way.
As we plan for peer-on-peer or near-peer conflicts, we have been able to ensure that our forces know how to use our nation's capabilities and that they have the opportunity to train with those capabilities. But most of our space-based systems are classified as special access programs. At current classification levels, are lower level commanders able to understand the full scope of capabilities available to the force and able to conduct military planning with an understanding of space-based capabilities and limitations?
So thank you, Senator. So overclassification is a challenge within the department right now, but one that we are aggressively working and looking at refining, if you will, to make sure that we can start bringing systems and capabilities to a lower classification level so that we can optimize their employment as well as training of the operators and the forces that they support. So, in other words, the classification, we look across those and are revisiting those documents, those capabilities to see whether or not we can pull them down to a lower classification level. This also allows us to do more integration, better integration with our allies and partners.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Gillibrand. Senator Ernst, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And
Ty, you're muted.
Oh.
Gotcha,
So
dog.
that was Senator Gillibrand basically gunning down the Senate Arms Committee for funding for Arrow and trying to get their support and commitment to further the funding and capabilities of this government, this entity that the government has created to look into unidentified anomalous phenomena. And I think the lack of answers and the lack of spatial awareness from these representatives is it's just unacceptable.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you, Ty. I mean, my buddy Zio, who you've met a few times, is listening into the show. He's in Discord, and he's like, I mean, you're throwing softballs at this guy. He's like, swing one, there's strike one. It's like, I gotta defer. It's like, what do you do? What exactly do you do in your position?
Yeah,
it's kind of embarrassing.
It is embarrassing, and all it brings me back to that original hearing that was held where Scott Bray just absolutely looked like he had no idea what was going on. Like he barely knew that what room he was in. Just the absolute buffoonery that is put on display is absolutely atrocious. It's like, I can't help but think, like, God, I could do such a better job. Yeah. I would ask we need the questions asked. Say we have hearings, right? There was one in the last hearings. There was one member who did ask about cases like Rendlesham and Malmstrom Air Force Base.
Oh yeah,
and Scott Bray. Yeah, I know of the incidents, but I haven't seen the data surrounding them. Like, are you kidding me?
It's such a lazy answer, and I don't mean to take anything away from this gentleman here, like and anybody else that was on that panel, because I'm sure he has served our country honorably and has done his best. But like, when it comes to this topic, we need people who know what the hell they're talking about. Like, honestly, like these guys that we see in documentaries or on TV shows that can literally tell you the day and the hour that, Rendlesham Forest happened or any of these other incidents. Like, why don't you coordinate, like at least coordinate with some of the experts? Like I'm just thinking of, so like Nick Pope has a lot of knowledge because, obviously he worked in defense over in the UK. Richard Dolan, like, get out and get your hands dirty and start talking to these guys that know. Like, let them brief you on this stuff, and then coordinate that information with official data that they may not have access to, and then you can start maybe putting some of those puzzle pieces together.
And the faster that we can get all on the same page, the quicker we can advance this topic and stop talking about the more mundane aspects of it. Like, does it exist? Right? Yes, sadly it does. Not sadly. I'm sorry. That's the wrong
to
word.
Some people, I guess. Sadly,
No,
depending on who you are.
It's happening whether we like it or not.
Right.
And it's about time that everybody get on the same fucking page, because pretty soon we're going to get caught with our pants down. Now, I heard something that truly shook me to my core. A long time, not a long time ago, but I've mentioned it on the podcast before. And on YouTube before as well. What if the current upticks in sightings are they're like in the past 60, 70, 80 some odd years? What if these craft are here basically to see something, to see where it all went wrong? You can't help but look around you and think about the disaster in Ohio, right? The pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the the corruption that runs through our political sphere, the absolute greed that runs corporation, the atrocious things being done to human beings in third world countries. Look at what just happened. In order to build infrastructure in the place that they I can't remember the place where they held the World Cup. Where was that again?
Was it
Right, some fucking nation that no one knows about. Right? They use basically modern day slaves to build infrastructure for
Yeah.
the World Cup.
Qatar? It was Qatar.
Qatar. They bought their way because FIFA is the most corrupt organization that's ever
It's pretty bad.
graced the planet. Look at all the corruption and greed and just absolute nonsense that in the world that we live in. Yes, there's a lot of good. There's so many people, but there's so much wrong right now.
Yeah, a lot.
What if they're here to see something happen? It haunts like the end of the fucking world.
Well, no, so Ty, I can kind of meet you in the middle. What if they're here to see the birth of artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
That's always to me. I know things are bad right now, right? Like I know things are bad right now. I don't think this is gonna I don't think we're heading on a collision course with ourselves and that the world's gonna end. They may be here because based on some of the stuff I've been reading about the Greys and some of the theories that the late Nigel Kerner had about them, they might not know of their own origins. It somehow got lost in their own data banks. And they might be here aware of the fact that, we are on the precipice and they want to see the actual birthing and origin place of what would eventually lead to their own creation as possible. Again, or where their experiment and they've always been here and they're, now they're here to see the beginning of a new phase. So they're here in mass. There's a lot of different ways you can look at this. I try not to think about it the way you just said, but it crosses my mind. I will admit, it's not that it's not there.
And I kind of pulled that from the time traveler theory, but
right.
But it's not the time traveler theory. It also could be, but it's not.
It could be.
What if it is time travelers and they're coming back to see or try to actively without ruining the butterfly effect, assuming that's real, and it only makes sense, right? If you change one thing that would set off a chain of events, that makes sense, right? It totally does. So time is very delicate. So
yeah.
Maybe they don't mind that we think it's aliens because they're actually time travelers here to, subtly try to change the future so we don't blow ourselves up. All these things are actual possibilities as long as we all get on the same page and admit that there is actually something happening.
Or maybe this has something to do with it's called a a bootstrap paradox. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term.
No.
A temporal paradox where a future event is actually the cause of a past event.
Oh God.
Wrap your fucking head around that one, Ty.
I think I just got a headache.
At 11 p.m.
I think
you
I
guys
just
in the chat, when you read about it though, and I will say this, if you want to really understand that, watch Terminator.
Then you go down the rabbit hole of what came first. Like the future event or the past event? Because did the past event happen?
That's the fun part. The technical answer, I believe, would be both, technically speaking.
Unless time works in a way where it branches, like say in Loki, right? Where like if something is to change, then it just diverts. Now that timeline goes on, but a new timeline is created.
Well, then you would want to look at it like, so you would look at time as like a slinky, right? And as you go around each loop, a little something's different, but you can transfer information from one loop to the next. So technically speaking, you could like in Terminator, there's a phrase that gets used, no fate. And like in the story, a certain character, in case, and I don't want to give away too much in case you guys haven't watched it, even though it's old.
No, it's been like 40 fucking years.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's so good when you like start to read into like the lore. So that phrase, no fate, is given to one character to another. But technically speaking, with this bootstrap paradox, nobody actually created the phrase. Like you just trust. It's really wild, man.
Well, time is such a time is such a peculiar thing. And then okay, I have also been reached out to by so this Sunday on the podcast. I'm gonna break this news now, I guess. This Sunday on the podcast, we will be joined by Bob. Oh my God. No, not Bob Lazar. I wish, man. I'm so sorry. Let me get their names real quick. Jesus Christ, I look like such an idiot right now. Bob McGuire and Bob McGuire and his I don't know if they're like a couple or not, but they live together. And she's a remote viewer, and he's a scientist that worked with the intelligence community.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're going to be coming on the show on Sunday to talk. And I think we're going to get some really cool information out of that. And that's going to be really fun. So I really highly suggest that you all come there and watch that. For real, it's going to be a good show.
Branching off into it, like some different but related topics too. Like I find that very exciting.
Yeah, for me, you know, I tend to like I said, have my line in the sand, but I'm trying to step over it, you know, a little bit here and there.
Oh, with remote viewing, you very much should. I can tell you that.
And I find remote viewing to be super fascinating. I find consciousness to be something that I think that we definitely need to look into further. No pun intended. But you know, there are so many. There's just so much overwhelming evidence to suggest that we are capable of more than what we have been led to believe. I think somewhere along the lines, you know, just like the appendix, we just lost or stopped using it, and we just lost the ability. Like, you know, it's no longer accessible until, you know, you work on it. The appendix, not so much, but you know what I mean. Like, it's something that's there that it just doesn't do anything anymore.
Yes, it's like it's not that, it's like it's dormant, but like it doesn't have to lay dormant and stay dormant. Ty, did you know that that apparently back during like prehistory, I don't know if it was when we were Neanderthal or like, you know, Cro-Magnon, but way back when we were like hunter gatherers, apparently like memories were passed down through generations, they believe. So like, let's say I had 3 children and there was a water source that I knew and always went to. Like, my children are born. Let's say I pass away shortly after they're born. No one has to tell them about that water source. They'll remember where I saw it. They believe that was like a hereditary trait that would get passed down.
Really?
Yes, yeah. There's science on that, man. It's really fascinating.
So you're saying that, like, if the dad went to a watering hole, but never brought the kids, never told them where it was,
yes,
but knew where it was and died, that they would inherit that information.
Correct.
Wow.
Literally passed down through their genetics. Like they were passing memories down. Yes.
You know how that sounds, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, there's scientific articles on it. Also, I'll tell you something funny too. And this
then
is
we talk about the Egyptians, potentially, using power of the mind to construct the pyramids.
Have you ever noticed too, and this is for anybody in the chat and myself, because I'm so fucking guilty of this. You ever, like, if you have a girlfriend or a family member, whoever, and they ask you to go get something out of the fridge, right? And it's like right in front of your face, and you're like, damn it, I can't find it. And like your mom or your sister or your girlfriend always comes up and finds it. There's an actual scientific reason behind that. It's because when we were hunter-gatherers, men were accustomed to looking out into far distances, and that's where their main focus would be. And through the generations, like, a little thing of mayonnaise could be right in front of my face, but if it's in the back of the fridge, I have a better chance of finding it. But the woman, because she wasn't tasked with so much of the hunting aspect of it, but more of the gathering or, the nurturing of the children, she'll find it like, boom. But I swear to God, I want all of you to think about that for a second. How many times has somebody asked you to find something and it's like right in front of your face and you can't find it? And a woman comes up and fucking finds it. And they're like, how did you not see it? Like, this, there's science to back that, as wild as that sounds. But that's why what I'm telling you with like the memories and everything, it was like a survival trait that was passed down genetically. And it was locations and anything that had to do with your survival, it would, like, through memory, it was passed down to the children, whether the parents were there to tell them about it or not. They were born with the knowledge of how to find those particular regions.
Wow.
It's wild. Humans are amazing. Like,
yeah,
we are. Like, we really are. I know I am a human. Like, I'm not trying to sound like, cocky or anything, but look at all the rest of the life that lives around us. And then look at how different we are. And that's why this ties directly back into visitation and stuff. Like, we're special, man. Like, we are. Come on. Like, what other creatures on this earth have built mega cities out of, natural materials, or like just any of the things that we've done? And look around you. Look at your desk. I've told so many people this, and Ty, I want you to really think about this tonight. Like, really ponder it. Look at everything around you right now. Everything in your office. It all came from the earth. Every last piece, from your shield to your sword to the chips in your computer to that arm that's holding your microphone. It all originated from the ball that's spinning around the sun right now that you are sitting on. All of it, everything. That's insane.
It's a wild thought, man. It's a wild thought.
And life has arisen out of
this. And then guess somehow. What we are made out of?
The same thing that stars are made out of.
Right. The same thing. So our particles are what we're made up of is basically particles of like a sun that exploded, or whatever. Like that thought in itself, when I heard that the first time, I almost broke down in tears.
Right. It's beautiful,
like,
right?
It's just so beautiful, and like it just makes you think. There's just gotta be something else. And that's where I really birthed my recycling theory, that, just as matter cannot be created nor destroyed, that souls are matter, are energy. The same is said with that. And that, directly correlates with deja vu and instinct. And I think that we are constantly being recycled. And that's beside the point. However, I did want to move on. I wanted to play the clip from Weaponized where they dropped the Baghdad UFO, and then we'll probably wrap up the show. Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look at the clip. Show.
And this is Weaponized. Okay, check it out. There is a video
intro
from an active conflict zone, and we are providing 7 still images from that video. This is not classified.
Wait, there's
and in
7?
fact, it is not contained within any known to us classified documents. In fact, I'm not even sure, I am actually pretty sure that any UFO study program our government has this, even though it's a military filmed piece of footage.
UAP Task Force doesn't have this. You don't think Arrow has it. And you say, what kind of platform are these images?
Look at Knapp wearing the sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Hoodie Knapp, right?
Hoodie Knapp.
Still images compared to a video. I obtained images. We went through it together to make sure, and we have done full background. I'm not in the business of obtaining things that are sketchy. I know for sure that we can receive this together and we can put it out to the public. There is nothing in this that would even accidentally be harmful, but it is from a conflict zone, again, from Iraq. And this is an image, and I'm not going to go into any of the details right now. I want the public to help us to engage these images, because what we're seeing in this and the people we've spoken with about it, this is officially labeled UAP. This is not our asset that we know. We are sure of that. It is not any foreign nation's asset. It is a known foreign nation, but it's fucking weird. And so we're just trying to see, can the internet, can UFO Twitter, can
We're
the general
here.
world, can people with more experience help us out with this? Because right now, our government, they've officially labeled it UAP, but it hasn't gone to the right places. And that's why you and I get contacted, because there's this bottleneck of information from when something is being captured in a conflict zone and it needs to get to, I don't know, let's say Central Command, CENTCOM, and really seen, hey, this is an issue. So this image, what you're going to see, I'll be very clear. Let me show it now. As you can see, this is a very skinny object compared to its length. If you look in the top left, you'll see that this was filmed in white hot, which means that the background is hotter than the image, which, by the way, just so you know, I can confirm with 100% that this object flew under controlled flight with intelligent control across the screen from left to right.
Kind of looks like a torpedo or a rocket.
So I'm going to put this in big bold letters on the screen. Not a rocket. And let me explain that for a second. This is a conflict zone. Maybe it's a rocket. So it's not a torpedo because it's over land.
Yeah, but people need to hear it from them too. You
It's
know?
in the, and you know, from the video, obviously you see that, but we were able to obtain and release these images is what we're doing. It's not our job. I hope Arrow puts this out now if they go find the video, unless they're provided it by journalists, right? So here's the deal. You would see, if this was a rocket, you would see white hot engine, you would see plume, you would see heat, you would see what they call signatures intelligence, you would see a signature. So what you're seeing here is interesting to me and others that came to me for very specific reasons. It's because it does not show the traditional signatures of what you'd see for reactionary propulsion. What you're seeing is something that appears to have non-reactionary propulsion. Now, have we heard that before?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thing, right? So I don't know what this is. It is a UFO, but it was something under controlled flight, under intelligent control, that appears to have a propulsion system that is undefined yet by us. We don't understand it. And the shape, no control surfaces, no flight surfaces. Now look, if we get a reasonable explanation, we'll be here, we'll be helping people out with that reasonable explanation.
but damn, have we had some really sharp minds on this so far, and we are still stumped. So this is a UFO filmed over Iraq, and it shows an object that passes through in video, and we're providing 7 images, which somebody online will stitch together. And
Yeah, somebody could animate it for us. Yeah.
So that's what we're giving people today.
What do you make of what looks like some kind of disturbance behind it in the air?
Yeah, I really, this was like, for like a long time I went through this. Like, I went to so many people trying to figure out, people we know, like that we trust, and then people that I don't know.
It's not exhaust, though.
It's not. So it's a thermal imaging camera. So what you're seeing in that image is just, it's thermal, it's heat differential is what you're seeing. And that leads us to a very interesting point that we should make. But what you're seeing is that line, I personally think, and I could be totally wrong, but I think that it is an artifact of the actual capturing system, showing what I would call, with layman's terms, like a ghost image, like as it goes. But other people have more interesting theories about what you're seeing, because it's a thermal camera. It's clearly not an engine or engine exhaust. So there's no comparable, and anybody I talked with that could pull up right there, comparables to rocket, comparables to, even though it's over land, like a submarine wake or something like that. That'd be the closest. So it's some sort of wake, or most likely it's a digital artifact. But I don't know that it's a digital artifact. So I would love people to go after that and try to find out, what is it?
All right, UFO world, go to work. Let us know what you think of this.
I'm on
Animate it if you want to, and help us figure out what the heck this is. Help our military figure out what it is, because they don't know.
Right. And so I think why we are releasing this, and I want to be real clear on why we are releasing it, is because I think together between the abundance, the archive of people that trust us, that come to us and say, okay, this is supposed to go from here to here, but somehow it's going to you guys. And again, we do it in a way where it's like, I don't even know who specifically sent, but I was informed about it through numerous people. The reason why I think we should put this out, it's not just so that people can have another image, you know, that they can make cool memes of, although I challenge them to do so. It's because I am trying, and I think you speak for yourself, but I think we're trying to get our new program, Arrow, to be transparent and clear, and like Susan Go at the Pentagon, to confirm some basic things about the Mosul orb. If she hasn't already, by the time this airs, this is not a matter of national security. This is a matter of national responsibility to the citizens that employ you, the people that you represent.
Amen.
And so that's why I'm doing that.
Yeah, buddy.
Transparency. That's the buzzword we keep hearing out of Arrow and the people at the Pentagon who work with them. Let's see it. Let's see it in action. And
that's right.
You know, we're going to provide these images now and hope people will take a look at them and help us figure out what they are, but also to encourage other people who are out there who've got something similar, who don't know quite what to do with it. We'll take a look at it if you want to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have
all right, so that is the clip that we're going to wrap the show up on, guys. Cortex, where can they find you, and what are your final thoughts of the drop of the Baghdad UFO?
So the more and more that time goes on, the more and more I get behind Jeremy Corbell's efforts. George Knapp, I've been sold on him for years. The guy's like a hero to me. But Jeremy, the way he handled Greenstreet, the information that he shared here, how it was explained, I mean, the guy's doing what he can, honestly, and I think people should cut him some slack, honestly. I think this is really interesting.
What's your ruling on Stephen Greenstreet? Is he just a troll, or do you think there's something deeper at work?
I think there's something deeper at work. I think he's being paid to do this now. I wouldn't have said that before, but like now I'm just starting to get that vibe, and I went and kind of dug into that left turn he took. And it's like, wow, I haven't seen a left turn like that since Radiohead put out Kid A. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, this is nuts. You went from rock to electronic. Like, I was actually blown away by it. I'm like, it doesn't even make sense. Because I used to watch it when he had like Nick Pope on and stuff. I was like, oh, this is cool. I can dig this. This Greenstreet guy, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden,
I don't know if Nick Pope's going to continue doing it after this year. I
Yeah,
know they
probably
already filmed,
probably
but
not.
if Greenstreet keeps going down the way he's going, I don't see that Nick Pope's gonna want to associate with him anymore.
No, I mean, it's just
Nick's always been kind of like a neutral guy.
right.
Nick believes, man.
Yeah, no, and Nick worked for an intelligence agency. It's like
The Ministry of Defense.
right, like, and I get it. You know, he's been. Some people are like, well, he's become a character, or I know some people accuse him of grifting and stuff, but like, put his current endeavors aside, the man was exposed to information that we are not allowed to see. Like, period. End of story. He worked for the Ministry of Defense. That's it.
Yes.
So again, I'm really impressed, or I'm really, really happy with the way that Corbell handled him in person, and George Knapp. I think they handled it professionally, especially George. But I could feel in Jeremy's voice that he wanted to be like, dude, Greenstreet fucking kick rocks. Like, you could hear it in his voice. You could.
Yeah.
He was getting really irritated with him.
Did you hear? So one of the first things, like, he starts asking this question and he stops and says, George is laughing. Because, like, George was laughing at him the minute he started talking. Like, just because he knew, like, what was about to happen.
Yeah, they knew who he was, and I thought his question, like, it was weird. It almost sounded like he, like, pulled that out of his pocket, like, at last minute. That didn't sound like a question that he had worked on. Like, when I got my chance to talk to Lou, I typed up like 7 questions and I picked one based on the ones that other people asked and read it off of a screen. Like, that I don't know, it came off as like it just didn't seem as professional as he likes to make himself out to be. It was really odd.
I was gonna say that it wasn't the normal, like, stern Greenstreet.
No.
It was almost like he was, like, shy and timid.
Yeah, he sounded nervous.
Yeah.
He did.
And,
He
like,
really actually did.
Because, I mean, he was in a room full of people who don't think like him,
Right. And I mean, he's allowed to think the way he wants. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean he's a piece of shit or an evil person or anything. But he has felt a little trollish lately. Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
I will say, I'll go that
and
far.
I'm sure that I'm sure, like when him and Mick West were walking around the convention, like, people were giving him, like, dirty looks, or, like, potentially even, like, like, hey, fuck off, you douchebag. Like,
yeah, and that's not right. I would have been like, hey, Steven, hey, Mick. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would have handled it. I would have been like, how are you guys doing? How are you enjoying your time here? Blah, blah, blah. What are you guys going to be talking about? I would have treated them just like anybody else, because that's just the right thing to do.
Well, I think it's kind of like, it's so telling when, like, guys like Mick West go on Twitter and they're like, I had a good time at AlienCon. The people I shook hands with are Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Gary Nolan. Like he says that because he wants everybody, like, Mick is desperate for himself to continue, like, his name to be in the conversation, because of the backlash that came from Gary Nolan basically saying don't engage with Mick West. Then he it's a whole thing.
I get it, but you know what, Mick? I feel like Mick carries himself better, and I do believe that he at least handles himself in an appropriate manner. Like, I never see Mick, like, actually, like, attacking people. He posts his debunks and stuff, but he doesn't attack.
Yeah, no,
You know
he's
what I mean?
very respectable.
Yeah, like, I think Mick seems like a nice guy. I got nothing against the guy. He can believe whatever he wants. I come to different conclusions. I appreciated the fact that he gave me and you some feedback, which was really cool for him to take the time to do that. Like, and I do believe I want to see him weed the BS out. Yeah.
And,
I want to see him be there to weed out the BS. Like, if something gets pushed that we're all latching onto, but he really thinks he can debunk it, like, that would benefit the community, so we don't waste our time on those types of things. I'd like to see him be like the hero that says, hey, guys, stop wasting your time with this clip. Look at that clip. I'd like to see what he actually thinks is anomalous, but it seems like he doesn't believe any footage exists that's good.
Well, those are the questions we're going to hopefully be able to ask him
I'd like to
very soon. So
I would really like to.
And until then, in the meantime, where can they find you on social media?
I am Cortex Zero on YouTube. working on a video right now about the Men in Black. Going to be having that out pretty soon. Really looking forward to sharing some information that I didn't even know about with that. So that's going to be really fun. Had a good time researching that. And I am very active on Twitter. You can find me at Atomic Thomas. Just change the O's to zeros. And of course, my business website. I own a small digital design company called Zero Digital Designs at ZeroDigitalDesigns.com. Yeah, buddy.
All right. And you said you have that video in the works. And then you're also narrating another thing for me as well.
Correct. Yep, that's right. Yeah, I actually did some narration work last night, something completely separate. And I got to say, man, like, I really enjoy it. Like, it's actually a lot of fun for me.
I like your narration, and I think
I appreciate it.
We got a lot of positive feedback from the Trinity one.
Yeah.
Now, just to let everybody know, we're diverting from like actual case files for one episode, and then we're gonna go in, and the next thing we do is Kenneth Arnold. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna do all the biggest cases that have led to, present day, and then from there hopefully this thing takes off, because I think we did a really good job with the Trinity video, and I the Kenneth Arnold one, the Trinity video, there's not a lot to work with, like as far as footage and
it's tough.
So with the Kenneth Arnold one, and then as we get further, it's just they're gonna get better and better and better. So I'm looking forward to that. So you can be on the lookout for that video, as well as our review of the new Estimate of the Situation comic based on the events of Project Blue Book. It's issue number 1. It's sold out a couple times already, but you can order it on Amazon or I believe on estimateofthesituation.com. But I'll put up all the links in the description below. I was lucky enough to get an advanced copy of that. So we'll be doing that. And if you want to catch those videos early, become a member of the channel or join us on Patreon. All the links are in the description below. You'll gain early access, a yearly gift. When we get to enough members, we'll start doing private live streams at least once a week, once a month. I'm sorry, and plenty of other guest priorities. So definitely help us out and go above and beyond. It all goes back into the show. Make sure to like, share, subscribe on the platform that you're listening on, which is YouTube tonight. So subscribe, ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Guys, we'll see you next time. I love you. I know Tom loves you. And,
very much.
By the way, UFO Con is approaching, and I'm gonna get to talk. I'm gonna get to talk to John Ramirez, Melinda Leslie, Stephen Bassett. So it's gonna be really fun. Use code SPKR23 to get $35 off your ticket for the 3 days. I almost forgot that one. So with that being said, now see you later.